So Google just very recently announced that they were expanding their Canadian presence here in Canada up to about 5,000 employees. They announced that they were relocating their Toronto head office to Yonge and King. But these are very common headlines. Shopify has an office here, Amazon, Uber, Facebook, eBay. All these big tech companies are choosing to settle here in Toronto. But what is it about Toronto that gives it its competitive advantage? That was the topic of a condo talk that I attended recently. It took a deeper dive into looking at the demand and looking at supply. It's not enough to say that demand is greater than supply, but what is influencing these factors? So just to look at demand first, where is the demand coming from? And a lot of this demand is coming from the tech sector. The tech sector here in Toronto is vibrant for a few reasons. Firstly, it's the availability of talent. Toronto is at the center of a few major universities that pump out graduates who fill these roles. Secondly, it's the compensation that these tech workers get. The figures used was that the average tech worker makes about $65,000 a year here in Toronto, but the same role in San Francisco or Seattle, that would be $125,000. So there's a cost advantage for being here in Toronto. Lastly, it's the immigration policy that our governments have chosen. The Trump administration has made it more difficult to hire foreign workers, where here in Toronto, if you interview today from overseas, you could be in the city working in 2 weeks. That's a huge advantage if you're trying to fill roles. The condo talk also mentioned the demand from international students. In 2018, there were 572,000 international students in Canada. Many of them choose to come to Toronto to study. U of T alone has almost 20,000 international students. Between 2010 and 2017, the international student population increased 158%. And it's not uncommon for these international students to want to settle here in Toronto after they graduate. Lastly, there's demand from new immigrants. About 100,000 settle here in Toronto every year. Those are numbers that we've spoken about annually in terms of demand. But we didn't even look at new household formations where two people get married and they need to move out, or single people who saved enough to move out and rent or to purchase on their own now. If we shift our focus now to supply and we look at why supply is so difficult and why is it never meeting demand, there are a few reasons for that too. Firstly, the time it takes to construct a condo is taking longer. I believe the number used was 5 to 6 years is how long it used to take when there was the OMB to settle development disputes between the city and developers. They've since replaced the OMB with LPAT, and now it takes 7 to 8 years for a condo to complete. There's also construction costs that are increasing at about 10% a year, they estimated. The costs for labor, steel, glass, concrete, none of those are coming down. There's also the cost for land. They're projecting it to be about $300 per square foot this year. Then there's the city charges. On a typical condo, about 20 to 22% of the sticker price goes to the cities for development charges, for parkland levies, for HST, among other fees. So those are the main obstacles that stand in the way of supply. So knowing that there are hundreds of thousands that choose to come to Toronto every year, how many homes do you think were registered in 2019? A little over 27,000 only. So clearly the supply problem is chronic. It's something we've talked about for years now. What wasn't addressed at this talk was millennial trends, of which I'm a member of. Personally, what I'm seeing is that millennials don't want to live in the suburbs. Millennials don't own a car and have no intentions of owning a car. Millennials don't want long commutes to work. Millennials are okay with raising kids in a condo. Obviously, I'm generalizing now, but I see this enough that I would call it a trend. If you know of a talk that addresses these issues, message me because I would love to attend. But anyways, that's the video for today. Let me know what you think. Thank you.